We're going to begin this very short and informal program. First of all, welcome and thank you all for coming. My name is Jack Burns. I am the current chair of the Pakistan Humanitarian Forum, as well as being a country director for CRS here in Pakistan. As you know, tonight is an acknowledgement of the work of the 40 PHF members from the onset of the floods just about a year ago today, tomorrow, this week certainly. I know that there are many acknowledgements planned for this week, so by Friday everyone might be kind of tired of the acknowledgement. So we'll keep tonight's program short. We have a few speeches by me, by our PHF coordinator, Christina Graziani, and by the two donor organizations that fund the Secretariat, that is ECHO and the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance.
Do you want the mic?
Oh, no, I don't need it. Can pretty well hear me? Okay. We're beginning without the presence of one of our honored guests, the chairman of the NDMA. But I'm aware of the time and the heat and the crowd, and so when he joins us, we'll certainly make room for him if he wants to say a few words as well. This is not, I don't want to use the word the anniversary, that implies something celebratory or happy. It is not that. It is an acknowledgement of our work from day one. There are now 40 organizations in the PHF. When we started a year ago, or when the flood started, there were about 34. It speaks to the growth of INGO presence in the country and our solidarity as a group and our commitment that we made together to address as many of the needs of the 20 million who were affected as possible, in as many sectors as possible, across as many areas of the country as possible. So for that we do acknowledge ourselves, not to say congratulate, but to take notice and take this moment to look at the work we did. And we have two ways of showing that, through a video which we're going to present and through the publication that you have in your hands that detail generally and briefly where we worked, what we did, and what still needs to be done. I would just end my remarks by focusing on that. Even though this is a moment to say, yes, we did a nice job, we all are very well aware that there is still so much more to be done in the coming years, months and years. In terms of financing, in terms of needs unmet, parts of the country that have not been served. And it is the commitment of PHF members to continue that work in as dedicated a manner as we started out. There are other challenges besides flood recovery in Pakistan, and there is always the risk that something else will happen. But in the meantime and for the moment, we just want to acknowledge what we're doing, look at what we have to do in the future, and thank each and every one of you, donors, government organizations, other members and guests who are here for your support of us, UN agencies, without whom we couldn't do what we do, and the donors who support each of us 40 members. Thank you to all of you. We did this together. Certainly we could not have done it alone or just as PHF. So honestly, thank you and acknowledge each one of you.
I'll be very, very brief. I want to thank everyone for the enormous effort put into this work on the publication and the video. Everybody put resources, people, time, everything, and we had a really straight time to do it. I also have a small thing to add, which is a good sign, because it means that someone is reading the publication, which is not a common thing. There is a small mistake on one of the last pages. Obviously, as it says on the table, is the funding gaps refer to the PHRP and not to the flood response. So thank you for those who read carefully the publication and correct the mistake that was done in a rush on a one-night, last-minute correction. What we would like now to give space is to our donors, just to give a small speech before we show the product of the NGO's work for the flood response.
We have Stacy Ballou from the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance here.
Hi, as you said, I'm Stacy. I'm with the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance. My colleague Mark Adams is actually down in Sindh and sends his regrets. He would have liked very much to be here. He was here, he came in late 2009, so he was here for the whole flood response and has shared with me a bit about the interest that OFDA had in providing some funding to PHF, particularly because as the United States government, in our effort to help the Pakistani government address the needs of these 20 million people, we really needed a way that we could come together. It was a massive effort on everybody's part. And we needed, as the international community, to go from the north to the south, and we needed to work together as much as possible. And if anybody knows Mark particularly, but OFDA in general, we love ways to help coordinate. So this was a really great way for us to help support another way that the NGOs could come together to talk amongst themselves, to make decisions, to come to one voice, to be able to express themselves in a space that would allow them to then take that out to the wider audience, a way to approach donors, a way to take issues. It was just a very good way for us to support the effort that we all had to put in last year. So I just want to thank PHF and all of the members of PHF for the work that you've been doing, that you have done. And as Jack says, for us to acknowledge the level of effort that's been put in by everyone since the floods started last year, from the government to the national societies, the CBOs, and the people of Pakistan themselves, and then all of us who have come from all over the world to do the best we can to help the people of Pakistan. And thank you very kindly.
Our other donor, David Sevchik, the head of office of ECHO.
So good evening everybody as well. I will limit myself to 1 minute possibly as well. I think you're eager to see the video already. I don't know what's in the video, so even though we fund PHF, we don't screen what PHF is doing. So it's purely PHF effort over here. But I would assume we will see a lot of water. We will see a lot of people struggling its way through the disaster and finding its way through the disaster. And we will possibly see a lot of efforts from the humanitarian community to assist those people to get through the disaster. However, in spite of those efforts, which have been great, and it has been mentioned already by everybody, even for ECHO it has been the biggest humanitarian assistance which we have done ever, we should not forget that there were many people who were not assisted. We shouldn't forget that there are people who are not assisted today and who are still displaced. So by other words, we should not, or we should keep in mind that in spite, or beside very important and legitimate goal in rehabilitation and recovery, there are still needs, emergency needs to be covered and to be continued with assistance. Many of those flood-affected districts are also affected by the conflict, ongoing conflict in this country, and the resilience of people in those districts is really touching its limits, so we should not forget this as well. And we should pass also a strong message that the humanitarian community as such is willing to assist, shall we gain the access and acceptance of the relevant stakeholders over here. Thank you, and I hope you will enjoy the video today, as I will do. And thank you very much for all your efforts.